And he's a legitimate W-9 employee, not a 1099 employee, W-9 employee. They rejected his loan because it's not legal nationwide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was a bombshell here on the Closing Table, ladies. Yep. My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Afternoon, good evening. My name is Kevin C. McIntosh, and welcome to the Closing Table. I appreciate you for being here, and we want to welcome another special guest, top producing real estate professional in their market. We want to welcome Miriam Olsen to the Closing Table. How are you, Miriam?
Hey, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We always like to tell our guests we appreciate them taking time out of their very busy schedule, and we appreciate you for accepting our invitation to be here. Now let's get into the nitty gritty, Miriam. We want to talk about business, but I like to tiptoe into it. Starting off with you as a person, Miriam. Let's take some time, 60 seconds or less. Tell us who you are outside of real estate, please.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Greater Lansing, Michigan.
Hey.
I'm married to a great guy since 1987. We have 2 adult children, a 33-year-old son and a 27-year-old daughter.
All right.
And no grandchildren. No grandchildren.
Okay. Yeah, it'll come with time, let them do their thing,
Yeah.
I get it. But yeah, nice. I love to hear it, being a wife, a mother, family-oriented, and obviously a business professional. Love to hear that from my guests. Love to hear that. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what you do. I want you to just describe, how would you describe your real estate business, how you do things? If you can, hit on a few keynotes. How long you've been licensed? What would you consider your specialty? Any notable achievements? Go.
Yeah. So I've been a realtor since March of 2014. Before that, I actually ran a dental laboratory out of my house. So I've been self-employed since 1990.
Wow.
I specialize in residential real estate only. I don't do any commercial work. That's a whole nother animal. Don't care to get into that.
Yeah.
I specialize in, what do I specialize in? And now I'm actually licensed in Florida. And so I specialize in 55 and over communities. And we have a home now in the Villages. So I'm working in the Villages and the surrounding area. And in Michigan. So I'm going back and forth. And I've teamed up with an awesome agent, Karen Yantz, in Michigan to help me out with transactions and whatnot while I'm gone.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That is interesting. You have to be the umpteenth guest that we've had who is not only licensed in Michigan, but licensed in Florida specifically. That Michigan-Florida relationship, I'm trying to understand it. What was your motivation for obtaining your license in Florida?
My husband talked me into it.
Okay.
I really didn't want to have to start all over again because it is a lot to get into this business. It takes a lot. But I got inspired and I did it. And Florida, getting licensed in Florida is much more challenging than Michigan, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's the schooling is 63 hours, where Michigan is 40. And I had to go get fingerprinted, send it down to a company to hard scan it to the DBPR down in Florida. So they would do a background check on me, approve me in order to take the exam. And so then I passed the exam. Now I have to take a post-licensing class, and that is 45 hours. And I have to pass another exam before my licensing cycle. Yes. Before the first licensing cycle ends, I have to do that. Otherwise, they will put my license on hold.
Whoa.
Yep.
I haven't had a guest break it down like that. I had no idea. I don't want to get into it too much, but yeah, that seems completely different. So compared to Michigan, Florida compared to Michigan, I'm assuming you don't have to do the fingerprint. You don't have to do the background check in Michigan?
No, you don't.
Really?
No, I don't remember doing that. Mm-mm.
Really? That's interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, good. Well,
Now
good.
there has been some talk in Michigan about making it more difficult, but there's some pushback because it's difficult to stay in this business and get in the business, and so brokers want to have agents. There's a lot of people that get in the business and then get out too easily. So they don't want to make it any more difficult.
Yeah, no, I get it. The game will naturally push the weak ones out. Is the best way I can actually say it. So it'll happen naturally. Let it take its course. Okay, so let's talk about where you're doing your business. We already talked about Florida, Michigan. Let's talk about specific markets. If you can, describe your market twofold. One, geographically. Talk about the surrounding areas, the notable attractions, things to do, what your market is known for. Give as much detail as possible for people who may have never been there. Then describe some of the data, statistics that's going on real estate-wise in those markets.
Okay, very good. So in Michigan, I work in the greater Lansing area. And if you're familiar with that, that would be to the north would be as far as St. John's, to the south would be as far as Leslie. I've gone a little farther than that. I've gone even into Jackson, Michigan. To the west is, Grand Ledge, and I've gone even farther than that, like halfway to Grand Rapids. And to the east would be Williamston, and I've gone as far as Howell. So that's geographically, it's pretty big span. In the Lansing area, we have some awesome areas. We've got Old Town, we've got Rio Town. We do blues festival, jazz festival there, music festivals down in Rio Town. My church in Michigan is they have a venue in Rio Town, and I actually teamed up with them last year, and we did a fundraiser. I'll tell you more about that later. But so yeah, some awesome attractions. Plus, it's the capital of Michigan, so we have the Capitol downtown. Yeah. Now in Florida, I am in the Villages, which is about an hour northwest of Orlando. And the Villages is a very, very special place. It is the largest retirement community. It is 55 and over. And what a lot of people don't realize is you only have to have one person in the household that's 55 or over, and only 80% of the community has to be that with one person 55 and over. So we still have a lot of young people here, and there's even a part of the community where there are schools. So it's very interesting. If you have to live in the Villages in order to work in the Villages. We have 4 town squares and free nightly entertainment until 9 p.m. So we get a lot of people that come in from outside of the Villages for the entertainment. Lots of fun. My husband and I tend to be people watchers, so we sit back and have fun watching people dance.
That's a great sport, people watching. I love it.
Yeah. I used to sing in a band, so I'm toying with the idea of possibly joining a band again.
Hey, okay.
So we'll see. It's an amazing place. I have the Villages have an app, and on that app, because everybody has golf carts. You go everywhere in a golf cart. And the GPS is for the golf cart paths. You can either choose whether you're going in a golf cart or a car, and it will guide you all over. You can, and the Villages is 80 square miles approximately, and so you've got all of these trails all over the place, and you're either going up and over a bridge or through a tunnel to the other side, and golf courses, numerous golf courses, lots of restaurants and shops, and the cool thing about it is the developer is from Michigan, and he's from northern Michigan. And one of the town squares is, if you're familiar with Mackinac Island, it's sort of modeled after Mackinac Island. All of the shops and their sales center and whatnot, very similar to Mackinac Island. They designed it on purpose. And then you'll see some of the streets, like there's, I'm trying to think. I can't now while I'm on this. But some of the streets are named after like Torch Lake. There's Torch Lake Drive. Yeah. So pretty cool.
Yeah, that kind of explains a little bit of that Michigan-Florida connection too. Like why we are seeing some similarities and things there. So interesting. And the way you describe the Florida market that you're servicing sounds like a very fun place, animated place to be, even though it is, that the village area 55 plus. But like I said, so much to do there, and you didn't even talk about the weather. Which is, that goes without saying, but Florida has amazing weather, especially compared to Michigan and the Midwest. So you get all of that plus great weather. I mean, you really can't lose there.
For sure. We're in the middle of the state, and so you can go either direction within an hour and hit the beach.
Yep.
So pretty cool.
Yep. Great to hear. Okay. So throughout your career, can you recall a time where you faced, let's say, one of your biggest setbacks or challenges and obstacles? How did you overcome that obstacle, and what lessons did you learn from it?
Yeah, so I had some clients, corporate relocation client, and they were looking all over the place. I think I probably showed them like 50 houses, and and they were just looking for something special. And lo and behold, they found it. I had no idea they would buy a house like this. It was a major fixer-upper, but a very unique home. And the problem with it was it sat vacant for a while. A storm blew through, blew shingles off the roof, and rain was coming in, and it warped the wood floor to the point where I called it a speed hump. It was so big.
Oh, wow.
And so the problem we got into was with his relocation company. They have a lender. He was using their lender, and because he has perks, by doing that. And so the house was a challenge. They refused to loan on it, and they don't do a rehab loan. So the seller chose to do seller financing temporarily with a balloon after 30 days. So we had to schedule so we closed. This is the only house I've ever closed on twice in 1 month. We closed on it with basically a land contract with the seller.
Okay.
And then hired a contractor, did the work, and then closed again with the relocation lender. So yeah, it was a challenging situation. I was fairly new at the time in the business, and so I had a great, awesome listing agent that, kind of guided the way. So it was a good learning experience. There's always something new to learn in this business every day. I don't care how long you've been in the business.
Oh yeah. So what did you really take away from that specific situation? Because there's some things that I want to ask about it, but I want to see, what would you say you learned? What did you take away from that you apply going forward?
Yeah, with certain clients, you don't always know what to expect. So you got to expect the unexpected, and then just roll with it. First of all. With all the repairs that needed to be done, I mean, it was a pretty big process, knowing how much you were going to have to spend, because he needed that kind of money from the seller as well. He couldn't just put up the money. I think it was like $25,000 at the time.
For the repairs?
For the repairs, and excuse me, in order for the appraiser to approve for the relocation lender.
Right.
So going through that process was pretty interesting. Yeah.
Have you dealt with a land contract since then?
Yes, I have. Oh man, I did on a piece of property. Very interesting situation. It was an estate sale. I was working with the daughter. Her parents bought this property out in Onondaga, which is south of Mason, area, east of Eaton Rapids, and they put 2 mobile homes on it, and they rented both mobile homes out. They had 1 well, but 2 septic systems. And of course, then the parents pass away. The daughter's in Texas and hires me to list it. And quite a situation. I'm not licensed in Michigan to sell mobile homes. You have to be a dealer for that. But you can sell them when they are attached to property. They have to be affixed to
Okay.
it. Yeah. So that was so before I listed it, the one mobile home was removed from the property.
Okay.
And so it just had the one mobile home, but the 2 septic systems and 1 well. And so out there, everybody knows everybody. And I had potential buyers that kept calling the seller instead of calling me because she grew up out there.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
so this guy calls him up, talks him into doing a land contract. All right, so I put it together, and it was it was complex for a year. Yeah, but they're not fun, and I don't really recommend them. They tend to be higher risk. Buyers that want to do a land contract, typically it's because they don't qualify for a loan. And so they are higher risk. So as a seller, you want a hefty down payment in case you have to foreclose on them. Yeah.
Great point. I was interested in land contracts once upon a time myself, but I like to ask those questions. I like to talk to realtors who've been in those situations because I get that insight. And that was going to be my follow-up question: how you felt about land contracts, and you just kind of put it out there. It's a very complex transaction. There's a lot to go into it, and then the seller is taking a big risk with that also, so there's so many different moving parts that go along with it. But you answered my question already. I just wanted to see the complexity of it, and as you as a professional, how do you feel about that against the traditional? But I get it. The traditional way is there's more of a pathway to it. It's more organized, so I could see it being a lot more smooth.
For sure.
Right. People sometimes, and you spoke on it, sometimes they like to have a house on the lake. Sometimes they like to have a house with an in-ground pool. Either way it go, you got a pretty nice house. But regardless, do you have a story you can tell us where you had to help a client evaluate not only the value of having that either an in-ground pool or a lake, but also talking about the maintenance of owning that in-ground pool or house on a lake?
Right. Well, in Michigan, everyone knows that our season for pools and lakes is short-lived, unfortunately.
Limited. Yeah.
And so, I've had clients where they need to evaluate, is it worth it? Because a home on a lake, you're going to spend a lot more money for that property. It's higher in value, more desirable, and your property taxes are going to be higher. With a pool, again, you've only got a short time, and if it's not heated, it's even shorter. Right? So,
Yeah.
And it can be a deterrent for some buyers because some buyers don't want a pool. But again, with the maintenance, now if I have a buyer that is buying a home with a pool, you want to make sure that you do an inspection on it. And the home inspectors typically don't evaluate a pool. And so you have to hire someone else, someone who specializes in pool maintenance, pool repair work and whatnot, to do that. I highly recommend that. And then it becomes a challenge too when you're in a season where the pool hasn't been opened yet in Michigan, right? Because we shut them down for the winter.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be a challenge. You can get a home warranty if it's a situation where you're purchasing it in the off season, and buy an extended plan for a pool in case if you open it up and something goes wrong with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now in Florida, it's year round. Typically, the homes in the villages with a pool are going to be higher end homes. Not every home has space for a pool, so it's something to think about whether you want to purchase a home with a pool or not, or with a yard that has enough space to put a pool in.
Yeah. Great. I'm so happy that you touched on the main points about that question. The house on the lake, property taxes up. Think about it first and foremost. You may not have maintenance necessarily, but the property taxes, oh yeah, you're getting what you pay for. And then with the pool, the inspection part, something I didn't think about, but it's absolutely necessary. When you're getting a home, you want to do an inspection on your home, but the inspector for a home doesn't do inspections for everything. Sometimes you have to have specialized inspectors for certain things, including that pool right there.
Correct.
And then I'm thinking of, you made so much sense when you said this. I'm thinking of the fact, let's say we're in Michigan. We're in a harsh winter. And you say, okay, I feel like now's a great time to go look for homes because everyone's either dealing with holidays, school schedules, or whatever. So it's a great time. So you go look at a home with a pool, and it's the winter. It's frozen, or it's just not the great time to inspect it at the time. So that could have some type of hiccup in your whole transaction too, or I would think. So it's just interesting that you brought that to light because I never considered that. But I've also never considered a home with a pool or on a lake either. So that's just out of my range right now. But thank you for shedding light on that. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Has there been a time where you had to dissolve some type of tension, maybe between the buyer and the seller? We already know these transactions, $100,000 transactions. There could be a lot of feelings involved in it too, emotions. So have you had that situation where you had to mediate between buyer and seller?
For sure. Probably the worst one would be, it was my buyer wanting to buy a for sale by owner. And
another one.
Yep. Yeah, right. So the seller agreed to work with the buyer's agent. So all of that went great. We got under contract, did my broker fee agreement with him, with the seller, and did the inspections, appraisal, got clear to close, scheduled the closing, and the seller comes to the table and says, I thought I was getting more money than this. And he wouldn't sign the paperwork. And here my buyer's freaking out.
What?
just freaking out. He had a truck out in the parking lot with all of his furniture ready to go move in as soon as we get done closing. And so my buyer goes, where's the bathroom? I gotta, he was just so upset and nervous. So he walks out, and I'm talking across the table with the seller going, look, if you don't sign, my buyer could very well hire an attorney and sue you for this. You are under contract with him. And if you don't sign, you're in breach of contract. And he's going, but that paper that you gave me, that paper showed more. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I realized I did a net sheet out of courtesy, and I didn't have to because I wasn't representing him. But I showed him what his net proceeds would be. And I realized I had that on my computer. So I went and grabbed my computer, turned it around and showed it to him. I go, look, you're getting more today than what I'm showing on the net sheet. So he's like, well, this went on for half an hour. And he's like, well, I guess I'll learn next time, whatever. And so he did sign the paperwork, and we moved forward with the closing, thank God. But what a mess.
All the way, wait. You wait until we get to the closing table, no pun intended, to say that you feel like you aren't getting the money you thought you were going to get?
Right.
Well, okay, let me just say this. A part of me feels like some of that falls on the listing agent. Am I crazy for saying that? What do you think? Well,
it would be, but he was a for sale by owner. He was the seller himself.
Oh, yeah, you were. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. That's a perfect example of what we were just talking about, the complexity of it and then not having representation.
Right.
Okay. Wow.
Right.
Wow. I can't believe I feel like the buyer. Like, how are you going to do this to me? My truck is outside.
Exactly. He was so, I felt so bad for him, the look on his face of fear. He was like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do if this guy doesn't sign? Yeah, it was terrible.
Oh, my goodness.
That was intense. And it was, that was probably the longest half hour of my life.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, good thing it got resolved. Everybody was happy. And maybe next time he'll know to look at numbers a little bit better. Crazy.
Yeah, for sure. It just shows you how the length that you have to go to represent your client.
Right?
I stared that guy in the face. I did not back down to him whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Good job too. Let's put you on the other side of that closing table right now, right? Let's say you're the listing agent now, And we know when you're listing, especially earlier in the year or last year, you would have multiple offers. So handling multiple offers involves more than just considering the highest price. Sometimes the seller wants more occupancy or terms or whatever the case. Could you tell us about a situation where the highest offer wasn't necessarily the best choice for your seller, and how did you guide them through evaluating the terms of the contract beyond the
Yeah, for sure.
the dollar amount?
Yeah. So a situation I'm thinking of is a super cute house on the west side of Lansing that I had listed. They received like 13 offers, and the highest offer had an escalation clause with no cap on it whatsoever.
Ooh.
But the buyer was doing a loan. And so, you have to evaluate, okay, is it actually going to appraise for what their escalation amount is? And they did not include an appraisal gap guarantee. And by that, I mean that the buyer agrees to come to the table with X amount of dollars above what it appraises for, right? And so in that situation, my sellers took a lesser offer. Even though I went to that agent, I said, is your buyer willing to do an appraisal gap guarantee? And they said no. So my seller takes a lower offer, still a fantastic offer, but the appraisal gap guarantee was for $12,000 over the appraised value. Sure enough, it did not appraise. So what I remember is they came to the table with $10,000 over,
Wow.
Over the appraised value.
Mm.
Yeah.
And was that was that offer a cash offer? Because you stated the difference, and the other one was a loan.
No.
Okay.
They both the second one was also with a loan, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to,
and that's a
go
good
ahead.
point to bring up. That's a good point to bring up because cash is king, right?
I was
There's no
just
hassle
going to
with it.
Please, yes.
Yep, no hassle with it. As long as the buyer doesn't make it contingent on an appraisal, then cash is most of the time a seller will take a cash offer over an offer with a loan, whether it's higher or not. But yeah.
Yeah. See, the thing about that is, I'm still kind of tossed up in the air with that, right? Because from the seller, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, from the seller's perspective, you're still getting your check or your cash. You're still getting your money at the end. It just, I guess, depends on if it's coming from a mortgage company, a lender, or if it's coming directly from the buyer. But nonetheless, you're still getting all of your money all at one time. So I was always confused as to why does it really make a difference whether they have cash or loan. But I understand when you're getting a loan, there's certain terms that go along with that too. Correct? Can you?
Correct. Well, yeah. I mean, the appraisal is the perfect example of that. If your offer is cash, you can close sooner too, as well. So as soon as title is ready, you're done. You're ready to close, and that can be done within a couple of weeks or less. So yeah, I mean, cash is always the best way to go. There's no hassle. There's always a risk too with a buyer not getting funding. I mean, I had a stupid situation where it was a listing that I had, got an offer right away, accepted it. The buyer was moving from Las Vegas to Michigan, going to work for a medical marijuana company, not even medical, in Michigan. And he was pre-approved through a national lender, I won't say who, and they did their inspection, did their appraisal, and we were within a week or so of closing. The last thing that a lender always does is verifies the buyer's employment, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So because they found out that he worked for a marijuana company and he's a legitimate W-9 employee, not a 1099 employee, W-9 employee, they rejected his loan because it's not legal nationwide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was a bombshell here on the closing table, ladies and gentlemen. We just learned a lot just now. Go ahead, please.
Yes.
Wow.
And the buyer's agent was a veteran agent, so both he and I had no idea. So again, you learn something new in this business every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so they scrambled to get a local lender, and it went through okay, but my seller was out another 5 weeks.
That's a good point.
They had to wait.
That's a good point. Yeah, so that makes a difference with cash versus, I get it. And it's instances like that where I 100% get it. So it depends on the situation and things, but knowing that, wow, who knew that? You wouldn't even know unless you're even if you're a real estate agent, sometimes you wouldn't even know unless you're put in that situation. So
right.
that's, wow, okay, woo. Okay, speaking of medical, trees can often be good and bad connotations, from providing fresh air and a quiet environment to destroying pipes and foundations. So they can have good, they can have bad. How have you helped change a client's perspective about trees on a property that they were interested in?
Yeah, my husband and I just sold a house in a very wooded area. And so it's always something to think about, because you have leaves to rake in the fall. Mm-hmm. But not only that, if you have trees that are close to a house and the branches are hanging over the roof, now the roof has too much shade, and that's bad for a roof. You're going to get moss growing on it, algae, whatever. And then it can be quite costly to hire a tree guy, to come and trim those branches away. I do have a fantastic tree guy. Love this guy in Michigan. Very honest, very reasonable. So I always try to recommend someone like that. But when I'm viewing a house with a buyer, I'll just kind of pick their brain. Like, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about having a lot of trees in the yard? And then not only that, if you are in a city, on a city lot, and you've got your sewer line going out to the road, quite often there are trees planted between your house and the road. And now if you've got the roots going in, it could be going into the sewer line. So you always want to do a sewer scope inspection. And again, that's a whole nother inspector that specializes in that. They will run the camera all the way down and out to the street. And then as they're pulling it back, they're recording it, and they're showing you right on their camera. And I always joke with them, because I say, I'm not going to shake your hand afterwards.
That's a good one. That's something I would say.
But yes, it's definitely another important aspect of the inspection, and you have to make sure that gets put on the purchase agreement as well as part of your inspections.
That was a good one. Yeah, I would say that too. You are silly, Miriam. Okay. All right. Looking back throughout your career, reflection time. How do the key lessons that you've learned throughout your career shape your future goals and aspirations as a real estate entrepreneur?
Yeah. So ever since COVID hit, I know it's been a challenge for all of us agents out there. The market has been crazy. And it is exhausting. And so, my husband's a home inspector. And so he and I, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
So our goals have changed, and that's why we decided to buy a home in Florida and be half here, half there, and I can work in both places. That's the beauty of it. I've loved real estate. I enjoy it. I love my clients. I've had some amazing clients, and you're learning something new every day. But you also have to take out some time for yourself, and we're going to start doing that a little bit here and a little bit there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got to respect that. A lot, because, just as people, just as adults, we can get so caught up in our day-to-day, the rat race, just being parents, and, you forget yourself a lot of times, especially being in an industry like yourself, where you literally have to make up your schedule. You are your own boss, so right. you are in control of the money flow and all of that. So sometimes you can have a tunnel vision. You're like, I I just want to work. I just want to do this. Boom, boom, boom. Then you look up 5-10 years from now, your kid's graduating from high school. And, you know, I haven't really done anything for myself. I haven't taken a vacation in 2-3 years. Let me slow down. So that I honor and respect. I think everyone needs to make sure they prioritize self.
For sure.
Self
For sure.
first. Yes.
Like you just said, you can get wrapped up in this business, and you have to be available nonstop, unexpectedly for your clients, because you never know what's going to come on the market. You know, you never know when that phone is going to ring. And, you know, so yeah, you do have to step back here and there and take some time for yourself and force yourself to do it.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Force yourself to do it sometimes. That's a great point. That's a great way to end it. Well, thank you so much, Miriam. You dropped a lot of knowledge here on the closing table. At this point, if you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, the floor is yours.
Yeah, you bet. My email for Florida is remaxolsen, Olsen, @gmail.com. Phone number 517-980-5547. In Michigan, you can get a hold of me. You can also go to my website, miriamolsen.com.
Yes, yes. Thank you again, Miriam. We appreciate you for pulling up a chair to the closing table. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, do us both a favor and hit the like button, please. And thank you. Make sure you also share the content and subscribe for our latest videos. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, give us a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Hey, Miriam, I'm going to leave our audience with a question before they leave the chat, because I like them to think. All right, so this is for you, audience. How do you feel about trees on your property? Do you like them or prefer not to have them? Tell us why. Not now, but in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.